Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This week's show, we're talking about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about I'm the Evil Lord of an Intergalactic Empire, Season 1, Episode 9. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, we have our mischievous guide still doing his thing behind the scenes. We show up at the bar. Obviously, more people, a couple more people in the bar. They're talking about, oh my god, like how everything's prosperous, how good like Liam's been and kind of running things. It's kind of like, oh yeah, it's kind of sucky, like how much we've been working, but it's like no time to relax. But it's like, don't you come to the bar to relax? And so everything's going great, which the guide does not appreciate. He's like, no, this isn't supposed to be how this goes. He catches up with Yasushi, who's getting as far away from Liam's territory as possible because he's like, I got paid a good pretty penny, so I'm gonna, bask in this and enjoy it. But the fact is, I need to get as far away from that kid as possible because eventually my BS somehow turned him into a sword master, and if he finds out my BS is literal BS, then he's going to kill me. But then it's certain. But the problem is, Liam's being like honored for what he's done against the pirates, and then he like bigs up Yasushi, and Yasushi like, crap, now this guy has made my reputation even more bigger. My connection to him has been brought up, even me teaching him the way of the sword flash, and now it's like, well, other people are probably going to come out the woodwork being like, yo, you're Liam's master. Also, people who probably have beef with Liam might come after you. That's a possibility we haven't really considered. I hadn't really considered up until now, but at the bare minimum, people might come out of the woodwork being like, yo, you trained Liam and he's crazy powerful, that then train me. So it's like, and who's to say the next person will be as willing to swallow your BS as Liam did? And then you had the guy being like, what is going on? I chose the trashiest person I could to set Liam down a path of destruction, but it's not working. Then he catches up with some soldiers who are like, oh my god, like who, I don't know if I think they used to work for the army or whatever, and now they're working for Liam, and they're like, oh man, he's great. Like I thought all nobles suck, but the fact is the way he's led the people, like he's so good. And like the whole point, their guide was like, yo, I was setting him up to be like people to work under him who would eventually revolt, but now they revere him. Why is this all going sideways? So he decides to step even deeper into it because he's pulled some strings here and there, manipulated some stuff. It's more so like he's like, okay, I nudged stuff in its direction. And this is probably the most proactive he's gotten, was he completely manipulates Gauze, the pirate, to go after Liam. And he goes like, yo, we went up in front of like the Imperial Army's like training area. A good chunk was like 2,000 of our ships were captured. They're most likely prisoners now. We're not going back for them. We should go get those gatekeepers. But the guy just like, no, who's your real enemy? Go after Liam. Tear him piece to piece. So, and even later on at the end of the episode tries to spin the narrative to Liam like, oh, I did this all for your favor. Like, aren't you in great debt? Like, oh, there's a lot, like the bounty on that pirate's head as well as the treasure. Oh my god, like you'd be able to pay off your debt. And so he's so certain like, oh, I'm sending this lamb to the slaughter. But it's like, no, Liam's somehow gonna come out on top. We'll have to wait to see how that all plays out. But yeah, he's so certain things are gonna go his way, even though he's failed every other step of the way. Like, oh, it's gonna be this and this. I need to, because he's saying like, I set you up to be in a position. I resurrect you into a body where you started off the bottom, but now you have the greatest opportunity to grow, and we're seeing that growth. But it's like, no, that wasn't your plan. Your plan was for him to drown in misery from the beginning, but he didn't. He succeeded and continues to succeed. But you're like, okay, well, he'll keep climbing higher and higher. The moment he gets to the peak, he'll come crashing down, and I'll gobble up that negative energy. But it just hasn't happened yet. So we'll see where things kind of go on that front. We also have Liam and Amagi, that whole conversation about like, well, he wants the whole evil lord thing because he still can't really decide what he wants to do as an evil lord. It's like, oh, he's thinking like, oh, I should be like basking at a dinner table surrounded by women in my arms, eating food, my men under me, like, who serve under me, basking and all of that too. And it's like, well, do you want me to make a whole bunch of food? And it's like, no, that it'd be a waste. Do you want me to bring some of the people who work on you? It's like, no, I don't want to deal with work while I'm eating. So it's kind of all a moot point. And so Liam still just, he wants to be the evil lord and rule over people, but Amagi always brings up rational reasons why he shouldn't, because he's like, oh, I should heavily tax people. It's like, you don't want to do that because that's going to just like cause problems, because like, hey, we are slowly paying off our debt. We're actually making a pretty big dent into it, but the problem is it's still a massive debt. And even Liam's like, man, what did my grandfather and father spend their money on for us to be in the crappy situation that we're still in debt despite all the pirate treasure and all the money opportunities that have come our way? We've developed the territory and the planet. It's all great, but we're still massively in debt. But we are chipping away at it bit by bit, that it is still in a realm of possibility of eventually paying that off. Amagi brought up, like I said, the negative drawbacks to like screwing with the tax situation. It's like, yeah, well, Liam was in a debt situation in his previous life, so he's like, he's got trauma from that. So he's like, yeah, you're right. I probably don't want to screw with that too much because I don't want to repeat of my last life. I'm like, yeah, like debt kind of gives me PTSD, so like I'm going to try and shovel my way out of this as quickly as possible. But they also had the conversation back to the whole last episode thing of, it's like, oh, do you want those women around you? We had that whole list of harem women that, candidates we could bring in. But Liam's like, would that bother you, Amagi? And she's like, no. He's like, it wouldn't bother you at all if I like brought in like another woman. She's like, well, first and foremost, you don't have a single woman. He's like, well, that's kind of harsh to say. But he's also like, I got you. She's like, but I'm not a woman. I am an AI. I don't count. I am here to serve you and make sure that you have, like, if you get with someone and you'll make Brian happy because you'll be able to, give an heir to the family, but also, you being happy is what I serve to do. So, but for him, it's still the thing of, yeah, but I can't get hard if a woman likes me, which is like, why we're still so caught up in that lane of things. I guess everyone's got their kink, but it's like, oh, I want you to like hate me. And yeah, it's a weird thing he got, but it's like it's kind of like his power tripping fantasy that he's kind of got. But, you do you, I guess. This episode also focuses on like three of the particular mass-produced maids at the AI maids, and they're talking about like, yo, we're hired to clean these rooms that aren't really used. It's kind of a waste of time and resources. Like, we're cleaning the pool in this room, even though Liam doesn't really use it, and it's kind of wild. But then they start talking about the fact is what Liam has kind of treated them well, because it's like, yo, each one of us has our distinct name. In fact, one of them was like, I think it's Shirogane was like, oh, I styled my hair to look like the other one. Oh God, was it like, I'm blanking on her name. It was something with an A, and Liam immediately recognized her, and they're like, wait, what? He did? It's like, yeah. It's like, but how did he do that? Literally, if it wasn't for a different hairstyle, like us changing our hair, like we'd look exactly the same. Our body types are meant to say, how does he know? It's like, well, he's such a womanizer that he's like, oh, like I think for him, he sees the distinct differences between them. So it's like, even if one changes their hair to look like the other one's like, I know it's you. And in fact, Shirogane was like, oh my God, I actually had the recording of that and I locked it away, and it feels so good. Like, oh my God, knowing that he paid such attention to me. I know the other two was like, oh, I want to do the same thing. I should change my hair as well, just so that Liam would be in that situation again, and we can feel a little praise, and we'll kind of hold on to that. But then Amagi shows up and it's like, yo, like, you shouldn't pull pranks on the master. But she was like, I wasn't. I think she just did that just to do it. I don't think it was meant to fool Liam, because she just wasn't expecting him to actually like take notice. I think it was just for her. It's like, oh, I like this hairstyle. It's so interesting because it seems like they're a little more not a little bit, they're a lot more flexible than Amagi. To be fair, we're inside their heads versus what they present. We haven't really been inside of Amagi's head. I mean, I think that's kind of what the outro is supposed to be. It's kind of like, oh, this is Amagi's head, and she just, keeps it very like static and plain and very like monotone, and just like the others do when they're just outwardly talking versus when they're communicating like in this like mindscape. And so Amagi was like, we're going to need that recording, and then we're going to delete that, which is kind of like, even Shirogane was like, no, like almost like, do you have to? But for her, it's like, AI are hated, and it's like, if AI get close to Liam, all that's going to do is hurt his reputation in the long run. So like a video like that shouldn't be kept around. We can't keep any evidence. We need to, stay as far away from him and not get too close. But then they start asking, well, what about you? Aren't you pretty close? And she's like, yes. But it's like, isn't that an issue? And for her, it's like, she just said like the only time they should ever get close to Liam is when he orders it. And she's like, I'm only as close to him as I am because he orders it. He wants her to stay by his side. They had that whole conversation earlier where he's like, I want you forever by my side. And she's like, of course, master. But even they're like, what's up with Amagi? Because I think from a certain point of view, you could almost look at that as like is that a little bit of jealousy that, they're kind of trying to monopolize like Liam's attention and affection? Probably not. Maybe Amagi hasn't gotten to that point yet. But like I said, this is our first time getting inside their heads and hearing their perspectives about hear them kind of get chatty and catty about it. But like we haven't really gotten insight into what Amagi is thinking on the inside, what she's feeling. Like I said, the outro reflects that, but we haven't seen that in the confines of the actual show itself. Even though we do see those moments where it's like she obviously does care, but it's like, well, is that really you caring, or is that just you obeying orders? I believe it's the former. I think it is like just straight up feelings, but she's trying to be as practical as she can be because she wants to do what's right for Liam. It's like, right, get him to be with someone he can actually be with in the regards of dispensing an heir, but also someone that won't complicate his reputation, especially as he's kind of done wonders to build up his family's reputation again. So just thought that was such an interesting element to the episode, and I was like, oh, that's so fascinating. So but yeah, tying into the guide conversation, the pirates are showing up, and now the question is, they're in front of like two military leaders deciding like, military people or strategists saying like what should do. One is saying we should have peace talks. The other one's like, no, we should put up a fight, because it's like, even if we have peace talks, who's to say that they're going to like let us go if we surrender? And it's like, another one's like, well, if we try to fight them, they've got 30,000 ships, we got 5,000 ready at the ready. It's like, we won't win. We won't even last 3 days. We need to wait for reinforcements. But who's to say they'll last long enough for reinforcements to arrive? Because we saw it with Christiana's planet. Like, they surrendered and they still got destroyed, so they are ruthless. And especially because he has such a Gauss has like such a vendetta against Liam. Like, he's not going to let that go. He's going to wipe everything out, especially because the guy like twisted that knife even more and aggravated that like anger in him. So that has to be considered as well. So, but Liam's taking this opportunity. It's like, because the guide gassed him up of like, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to go out there. So we'll go to battle. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So we'll see how this all plays out. The next episode is called, it's revolved around that battle. So we'll see how Liam fares. I wonder, will Christiana get in the mix of this, especially considering, like, she has beef with him. Hell, he even demanded, like, he wants men and women as hostages, which I love that Brian's perspective is like, oh my God, he cares about this territory, where Liam, it's like, no, that bastard is more evil than me, and he's trying to take what's mine. It's like, if anyone's going to take it, it's going to be me. He's got that perspective. Once again, him and his whole trying to be the selfish taker, trying to be the selfish person in his life, and he's not going to have anyone, take away from like his selfish life that he's trying to lead. So very interesting developments all around. I'm very interested to see where the next episode takes us going forward with this. Really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.